want to welcome everybody to ThriveCAST today. And we're really diving into luxury outdoor living with Duane Draughon. Is that how I pronounce your last name?
Drawn. It's okay. Just spell draw, put an N on it. Yeah, spell draw, put an N on it. Yeah.
Duane Draughon. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're the visionary behind VizX Design Studio, and you're a leader in high-end outdoor design. And it looks like you are really working to transform kind of that ordinary backyard into something that's like jaw-dropping. And based on what I know about you, you really try to blend creativity, functionality, and really try to use that cutting edge design to redefine how we live beyond the four walls that we call home. So welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm excited to talk about your firm and what it is that you do to make people glow. So I'm going to hand it off to you. Tell us about yourself.
Well, Shannon, thanks for having me. There's a lot of levels to what I am. Like, people ask me who you are, what do you do? And I think the American way is everybody leads by what they do. I'll lead by who I am. I'm a husband, a father. I'm a cyclist. I ride. I'm a former United States Marine, a business owner. I'm even a private pilot. Like, I fly almost weekly. I go up and I go flying around all over the country. So that's pretty fun to do. I love to travel, love to hike. Just sort of lead off by who I am and what I do, and then
We got to touch on flying just for 1 second. Do you have a plane? What do you fly? All sorts of things you can fly.
yeah. You ever heard of, are you into airplanes?
Not really, but I had a client who used to give like airplane instruction. So I have
Okay.
a little bit of knowledge behind it.
Yeah, I fly a plane called a Cirrus SR-20. It's very highly advanced aircraft. It has a parachute built inside of it, and the cockpit is all digital and everything. So if anything happens to the plane, we can pull the chute, and the whole entire plane comes down. It's all digital cockpit. It's pretty neat plane.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I took a ride in this airplane that's just like, it's like an airplane, but it has no motor. Just,
Also a glider.
oh my gosh, like it was something else. It was so cool. But then when she started to do flips and stuff, I was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna lose my
yeah.
lunch. Like we can't be doing that. But it was a pretty cool experience.
I sort of wish I learned how to fly that first, because once you learn how to fly a plane without an engine, you understand the thermals. And so you understand, like, there's pockets of air that keep you up. And once you understand that, you can basically do that with almost anything. And so
Right?
I did learn on, it's called a light sport aircraft. It's a very light, I think the weight limit is 1,300 pounds is total weight on the whole entire plane with fuel and people inside of it. So I learned how to fly that first, which is very tough for me because it's swirly. You can't keep it straight. Any wind blows, it will move the plane all over the place. And so switching to the plane that I fly now, it's so much easier.
Oh my gosh, that's fascinating. I love that because you have to use or have so many hours of flight training in order to be able to do it. So it's not an easy feat. It's not just like one day you're like, I'm going to learn how to fly. It's like you have to have thousands of hours to
You,
be able to get your license, right?
Whenever you see a commercial pilot, you shake their hand, because if you ask me, they're past the equivalent of a doctorate's degree. And I don't think they get the credit for what they were in the amount of training. Like, in order to fly a commercial aircraft in the United States of America, I think you have to have 1,500 hours.
Yeah, I have a friend who he started out, he worked at Costco and he put himself through flight school, and now he's a commercial airline pilot. He does private charters, but he also or flies for FedEx. But it took him a long time to get there.
Yeah.
A long
Yeah.
time.
And
Yeah.
and if you make it to that level, like, say if you do it by, was it Part 61, you're over almost $200,000 in before you get it. Think about it. You're almost $200,000 in before you get a job making 150. And then they just raised it. At one time, those guys would make like 35,000 a year.
Isn't
mean,
it sad? Like
yeah,
our teachers, it's like, what are you doing? These
yeah, they
things are essential in our life.
just raised it. They just raised it. And the problem is, the hard, if you really think about it, the rich people are the only ones who can get their license to get to the commercial level. But why would a rich person pay, look to go get a job to make $60,000 a year? And so they had
Yeah.
to raise it, and they raised it big time. Like I'm surprised the airlines are making money because they raised them from like 35,000 starting to like 95 and 150K starting. So it's a big change.
Oh my gosh, the just diving in just into that industry alone, I could see it would be in a fascinating conversation with you.
No, I don't want to go that far. So you won't get much information on the commercial level with me. You'll get the hanging around, having fun, and flying with friends and traveling and going to work, like going to job sites, stuff like that. That's about it.
So tell me about VizX Design. Where did this all come from? What was your vision?
VizX was an accident. VizX Design Studios was okay. I'm going to start from the beginning. My wife and I owned a company called Paverstone Design Group. We had it out of Columbus, Ohio, and we installed paver patios. And we did that
Okay.
for about nine. I was in the paver patio industry for about 15 years, but we ran VizX for like 9 years, and it did very well. But it was just paper patio. We one patio after the next. It wasn't exciting. I went to school for architectural engineering when I was in
Okay.
high school in the United States Marine Corps, and so I wanted to do more. And just doing the pavers, you're just doing pavers. So just every solution was a paver patio. I mean, oh, you had a drainage issue, paver. But you didn't like your deck, paver. Like we were just putting pavers everywhere because I had 4 crews that I had to keep moving. So I got sick of it. And I
Yeah.
got into drawing designs in 3D. And so my wife and I created a company called VizX Design Studios, what I operate now. And it was really, the company was into doing 3D renderings for companies. And that was the
Okay.
whole idea. And what happened was they were sending us their measurements and it was horrible. They were sending us their designs and it was just horrible. I mean, some people would have their grandma sending you stuff and then you draw it and it's not right. The measurements are not right. The materials are not right. So you're constantly going back and forth. The money that you charge it is not, it was worth it to draw it, but the collection of getting all the materials together, it wasn't worth it at all. And I'm like, I'm going to kill myself in hours just trying to get the information so I can draw a legitimate design. It was horrible. And so we had already moved to Chicago. So we basically burned the ships for VizX and we came to shore and started this new company. And it wasn't making money. It was struggling. And I was like, maybe I can do this architecture stuff that I went into. So I really started studying architecture. So I'd hop on Google and I went from different styles to different styles to different styles. I mean, I just studied American architecture. And then I had some friends that I met here who were part of the landscape industry and they were part of the elite side of the landscape industry. So I just started putting that architecture into landscape and started playing around with different ideas. And then it just took off.
Wow. So how long have you guys been in business? How many years?
I got to count it out. So it'd be 11. If it's 2025 now, it's 11 years. We started like right at the end of, actually beginning of February 2013. But I will say though that the business didn't grab wings until about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, about 2019 is like when I really figured out what I was doing, because I went through
Yeah.
the transition of the 3D design, then from, oh, this sucks, this is not going to work. And then I went, this route of design. Then I went through the process where I was just designing and giving the designs out to the homeowners and contractors. And that was horrible because they would never build it the way I designed it. They would always change something and it ruined the portfolio. And it was about 2019, 2020. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go back to being a builder again. And that's when I took over the build. That's when we took over the building.
That's amazing. So how did you land like your first client? Was it through your existing network or did you have to, did you start from the ground and do cold visits? How did you build your clientele?
It's wild that you're a marketing company, so you can understand this.
Yeah.
I'm relentless. Like I'm a former Marine. I operate on what you call massive action. I'm relentless. Like I remember This is no joke. I would wake up in the morning and I'd sit at the kitchen table and I would send 100 to 200 emails to home builders and architects all over the country every single day. I was doing a tweet every 30 minutes on Twitter. I was doing a post on Facebook, like every hour,
God.
every day. It was every day. Like every day I'd wake up and I just had I wish I saved that stuff. Like, you wish you had those things. I wish I saved that notebook that I went through and it was frustrating as hell because nothing was happening. Nothing
Yeah.
happened for, I want to say maybe 2, 3 months. Nothing happened. No phone calls, no whatever. Now, because I'm loud on social media, I would still get some leads here and there, but the biggest break that I got, the big one, was I had Dolly Parton's assistant in Franklin, Tennessee. Not Dolly Parton's assistant, Dolly Parton's manager.
Okay.
His assistant called me up and they flew me down to Franklin, Tennessee, and I designed the whole outdoor living compound at their house. And it was a compound. I mean, they paid for my flights, my cars and arrows. Like, oh, I'm on to something.
That is amazing. That's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody needs a break, right? Like to just tap in. And it seems like once you're blessed or granted that break, things just kind of start to expand, right? And that seems like a really genuine story. So this is how you built your portfolio, is
Yeah.
basically designing a compound for, a semi-famous person who's the manager of, a very famous person. That's
Yeah. Yeah. And then you remember, it depends on your age. You might not remember this show called Yard Crashers. It was a
Yeah,
HGTV show where he met you at Lowe's and took you home.
totally.
Okay, here's the deal. I met his son. That's actually my best friend. Him and I became best friends. And I would fly to California once every couple of weeks and I would design 5 or 6 projects for him that he would do out there. And so that was a really big break in business. So matter of fact, him and I still chat. I don't do much design work for him anymore, but I still chat with him. He's like a brother, you know?
Amazing. What a cool connection. Not everybody has famous friends. So that's
No, he
good.
wasn't my friend. I saw him at a trade show. This is going to sound really funny, but it's going to make a good podcast. Don't edit it. I saw him at a trade show. It was the H&A something landscape show. And this is funny, but he was like the only Black person in the entire show. So, I mean, there's thousands of people there and he's the only Black person. And I walked up to him, his booth. He was at a booth, Shenandoah trade show booth, and I grabbed him. I said, "Hey, bro, how the hell you get here? Let's hook up. Let's link up." And this is a celebrity now. Like he's on TV shows and everything. And he's looking at me like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" You know what I mean? So I got his phone number. I came home like, "Yo, I met a celebrity. I met a celebrity. I'm friends with it." And everybody in my house was like, "Shut up. You didn't meet. He's not going to call you." You know what? I sent him a text message every single day until he replied. And he finally replied. And it's like, okay, cuz I got something for you. And we did a trade show here in Chicago. And he enlisted me I designed everything, set it all up, and then we just started working from here. And then people saw me working with him. And you know how that works. And we've been all over. I mean, Texas, Florida, North Carolina. We design outdoor living spaces all over the country.
That's amazing. I love that. And where's he based?
He is based in Sacramento.
My alma mater. That's where I got my undergrad.
Well, I would probably I don't know if I would move to Sac. I'd probably do San Fran.
Yeah, it's so I grew up in South Lake Tahoe, so I'm a mountain girl. My parents still
Okay.
live in South Lake Tahoe. But yeah, I got my undergrad at Sac State. San Francisco's awesome, but it's really expensive. Yeah, it's really expensive and there's some diciness that's going on down there. So I hope that, it'll get through that diciness and it'll improve. But yeah, I'm a San Francisco Giants diehard through and through. Like that's my city.
Okay.
Yeah, love them. Love them.
Yeah, I did enjoy Sac. He was in the foothills in the I can't,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
It was so dope. That's it. That is Folsom. Yeah, it was so
Awesome.
dope
Yeah.
going to his house. Like it was so sweet. You mean all the turns and everything, and he was actually at the top. And there was like a little airport back there too. And I didn't have my pilot
Yep.
license then. I remember saying, "I'm gonna get my pilot license. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly in one day." I'm gonna go fly over there one day and run up on him like, "What up, bro?"
That's awesome. Yeah, Folsom, El Dorado Hills. It's just outside of Sacramento. It's beautiful
That's
there.
it.
So
That's it.
yeah, very in demand. So love it there. That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about VizX. I mean, what's like the first thing when you meet a client? What do you want them to know about you when they first meet you?
Oh, this is gonna sound so arrogant. Oh, it's gonna say that we are so freaking different, and we're not a landscape company. My biggest thing is we're not a landscape company, and so if you thought you were meeting another landscaper, get that the hell out of your mind. You're not about to meet that at all. We're a design firm that happens to design spaces outside, and we design our spaces mimicking the architecture of the home. We pick materials that matches the home. We pick everything that matches the home. We're not picking landscape blocks or the typical landscape walls or the curvy patios. We're not doing that. Our spaces mimic the architecture, and we have a design style that's based on your home, your kitchen dining lounge, basically what your home is designed around. I mean, your entertainment space, not your bedroom
Right.
space, but kitchen dining lounge is what we design based on. And I'm coming different than any other company. And if you match me, if you try to pit me, actually, this is where, like I said, the arrogant side is don't even try to make us equal with another company. We're not. I don't feel like we have any competition. I don't compete with anybody else. I don't look at anybody else's website. We are who we are and we do what we do. And it's not arrogant. It's just what we focus on.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you have confidence in what it is that you do. So well, I love that approach, but how do you balance like your creativity with like functionality in the design? Because I mean, that can get really expensive and really costly. So how do you balance that to
It,
find that happy medium?
There is hard. It is hard. Most of the time, I am sort of giving in to the functionality based on the creativity most of the time. And then what happens is, see if I can explain this, is the entire space becomes the piece. So I'll use, and actually I learned this from working with Ahmed. One of the good things about working with Ahmed and one of the bad things about working with Ahmed, the good things is Ahmed was very frugal. And so he was always trying to save the client money. And so he would use different materials, different things like that to work. And that's what I learned from him. The bad part about Ahmed, he was always trying to save the client money. And so I could never get off the full-fledged design that I wanted because he was always trying to protect and save them. So, you know what I mean? Now I get off almost the entire design every time, but I can move and use different materials. I'm open to a lot of different stuff.
Wow, I love that. So then, I mean, based on all the projects you've done throughout the course of the, maybe say last 4 or 5 years, what is, your most favorite project that showcases really what VizX does best? What is that?
There's, that cannot be answered. Every single job we walk away from, sometimes we're like, holy shit, did we do it again? And I'm talking, we've done like little small space projects. And even we're like, you know what I mean? Like, because the client, we only do a couple jobs a year. So that's another thing too, is, we only do about 15 jobs a year. My operations manager that we just brought in, he wants to do 25, 30 this year. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, good luck. I mean, but we're going to try it, but we only do about 15 jobs a year.
Well, and I mean, if they're highly custom, right? And I mean, they take time, energy, resources to be able to do that. So then who is your ideal client if that's the case? I'm assuming they're higher end, but maybe not.
It's not necessarily higher. It is more expensive than your average paper patio deck company, but our clients are people who believe they can.
I love that.
Yeah.
And how do they find you? How do these people find you?
If I was a drug dealer, I would be in jail.
Oh gosh. Wow, you
Everybody would
are
everybody would know I'm selling drugs. If I was a drug, I'd be in jail the first year because I would have a website. Then you would be able to buy all the extra supplies from us too. Like you wouldn't just be able to buy the drugs, you buy everything else. Then I'll have a repeat service where you can come back. You know what I mean? Like I'll have it set up for you. So That's what we have. We just have a relentless marketing program. We have this, I mean, we network like crazy because it's only a couple people here and there. Like it's out of the millions of people that's out there, there's only a few people who will be able to spend 150 or $250,000 on their backyard. And it may only happen once in their life. And that's another thing too, is that we really push high quality products and things like that. Even if I have to go like on a cheaper end. Like give you a scenario. If I have to use concrete, it's the most expensive concrete you can possibly buy. You know, it has a sealer in it, it has fibers in it. The PSI is at 4,500 PSI compared to the regular concrete, it's 2,000. Everything that because I don't want the client to have to spend the money again.
Yeah, it's kind of a one and done situation. And quality is always, of everybody's most important, right? Especially in the outdoors. So where do your clients live? Are they all in the Illinois area or are you all over the country?
We're still finding them. It's like we have to mine them. We're still mining them. Like I have to say the past year, out of all the jobs we did last year, there's probably one or two that I really enjoyed. And so because we are a business, I do have to take on stuff that I don't necessarily want to do. So we have to keep mining them on the ones that we want. And because one of the biggest problems with outdoor living is uh, it's sort of a level of mediocrity. Your real estate agents, your mortgage brokers, your investment brokers, your bankers, they'll tell the homeowner that, hey, you don't need to really put money out there and they're right because everybody else is not. And so when they don't know a company like us exists, they'll just keep telling that. But when they happen to walk into a space that we design, they're forever changed. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they walk back like, holy cow, who just did this? You know?
Yeah. So seeing is believing, I would imagine. So do you guys use a lot of video to kind of tell your story to potential customers, or how do you guys go about doing that to best tell the
It's
story?
it's everything. Like, I mean, I'm making reels like on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I'm here at the office, I'm shooting video, I'm making reels, I have photos, we draw everything in 3D. I mean, it's a lot. Like it's a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you wear a lot of hats for the business, but that's kind of what the grind is, right? Being an entrepreneur. I think a lot of people they're mystified by, the thought of being their own boss, but they don't truly understand the grit and the time and the energy and the resources it takes to run a successful business, right? And being an entrepreneur. So your relentlessness, I'm sure, is your superpower because I bet you that's how you've been able to grow and be so successful in the industry. You're
Yeah.
not shy. I love that.
And I've adopted that it's always a grind. Like I think what happens is when we're younger, we think we're gonna make a ton of money and life is gonna be perfect and
Don't we all?
we'll be rich. And that's, I honestly, that was a wake up for me because that's what I thought. I thought, okay, I get this deal. I'm going to be rich. I don't have to do anything. Hell no, it's the opposite. You work harder. You're always on the get go. Like I have to meditate every morning or I'll go crazy.
I'm glad you have a good stress outlet. That's amazing. I mean, you have to, right? Because balancing that is a lot. And then you bring in the family and your kids and the extracurriculars and everything else. It becomes a rat race and you have to figure out what's going to rise to the top and be the most important. And people who can find that sweet spot, I just admire because I'm still looking for that sweet spot. I don't know where that is yet. I haven't figured that out. But for those that have, I mean,
I haven't found it either. Like, I just I went to Tony Robbins EPW like 5 years ago. That was a total mind shift awakening. And I just read another book by David Baird. He has the Mind Hack Method. Like I literally have to wake up and do these mantras and meditations. I actually do yoga now. My wife got me into yoga. I have to do these things or I will go like I'm a basket case when I wake up. Like the whole entire operation is on my mind when I wake up. Who I owe, who I don't owe, where the vehicle's supposed to go. And we have a management team. I mean, I have a management team and I don't manage them like meaning I don't micromanage them. They run everything, but I have and I think it's a Marine Corps thing. It's all my fault. So no matter what happens, it's all my fault.
Yeah, that's definitely carrying the weight of everyone else's burdens is definitely, I think, a military mindset for sure, because, you know, you're always need to put as much care in for your comrades as you have to put in for yourself. And
Yeah.
so, but I love that. If people had more of that type of mindset, we probably would have a happier population because everyone would care about everyone else. And sometimes we just see in this great world the selfishness and the all about me syndrome and forgetting about your neighbor and your partner and your employee. And that's the human component of it. And especially in this day and age, I feel like it's really forgotten. Not in one industry, but in all industries across this world. I feel like it's like,
You and I could drop another 2 hours on my belief of selfishness and stuff like that. I could literally go in deep on the trajectory of where we're going. And you know, where it's a lot of people don't realize it started from farm.
from farming. What why? They're hoarding food or what?
Before farming, we had a community. So we all together,
Mm.
every family helped each other. And like when I was growing up, my dad had a garden in his backyard, and his brothers would come over. The neighbors would all go gardening. As a child, I hated it. I hated that garden because he would lie to us too. Like he would tell us that we could go to the fair if we shucked the peas, and then we get done shucking peas. Like, oh, you're not done. Here's some more. I'm like, come on, dude. Like you said, we could go somewhere. And so we're constantly working for free in this stinking garden. Like if we could have lit it on fire, we would have. But what happens is communities all work together. Everybody worked together. Then they got rid of this farm, and they got rid of the community farm, and one man or one family owned the farm. So guess what? That one family, he had all the money, he had all the equipment, everybody's buying from him. His kids are walking around with the Gucci bag, I mean, looking good, and everybody else is poor. So then we slowly start evolving to this selfish society. It's horrible. Some of the stuff that I hear now, like especially in the not so great communities, that single women are moving in and the men are robbing them. What kind of garbage is that? Like the men are supposed to be protecting them. Like it's crazy. That's what's going on.
Yeah, it's definitely a very selfish world. It's crazy how things have evolved. And because of the cost and everything else, it's like a little vicious cycle. So yes, we should do another podcast on just that. Yeah, but I mean, let's get back to VizX design because I mean, you have a really successful business, and something that I would love to ask you is like, where do you see the future of like luxury outdoor design heading in 2025, 26, and beyond? Do you think it's going to be impacted by the cost of living? Where do you see the design going?
Well,
Is there a
it's
trend?
I want to change, like I want to get on a mountaintop and change the mindset of outdoor living. Right now, outdoor living is still the afterthought. It's still considered a rich and famous thing. Like you can go in somebody's backyard and they have like the average car right now. I don't know what you're driving, but I know the last two cars that I bought, they were not cheap at all. But let's say an average car is $1,000. And if I sound crazy, maybe I sound crazy, but that's what an SUV costs right now. Like that was a
Yeah.
Volkswagen. That's not a Benz. That's a Volkswagen. There's They lose value. So as soon as you buy it, you mean within a year or two, that $55,000 Volkswagen is now 42,000. Then the second year is 35,000. Well, the patio, if you get a basic $12,000 patio, it's just gonna just destroy value, and it's gonna destroy the value of your house. What I want is, and this is not what I want. This is actually what's happening. This is what I'm preaching. If you look at all my videos, it's a constant message back and forth. I want outdoor living to be seen as the finished basement, the kitchen, and the closet and the bedroom. But the only way it's going to happen is it has to be well designed. It has to be designed with the right materials and things like that. If it's not designed that way, then it's going to keep destroying itself, and that's what the outdoor living industry just keeps imploding. Is the guy shows up, he does the patio, he does a basic patio in the backyard. The bricks that he used has nothing to do with the color of the home, the style of the home. And then if you look at the neighborhood, the entire neighborhood has the same bricks, the same wall, same everything. Obviously, it has no value. But if you mimic all of that stuff and you make it look right, you use the right stone, the right material, the right look, the right spacing. If you correctly design it, it now has value. And I'm not gonna stop until outdoor living projects become a part of the MLS.
Look at you. I love that. That's amazing though. And I mean, you have to really grow an appreciation for it. So, I mean, what advice would you give like a homeowner who's considering an outdoor living investment? I mean, say they have, I don't know what an average size backyard is where you live, but I mean, ours are pretty small because we live in like a cookie cutter community. What would you, if I came to you and I said, I have a plot of grass and a fence and a patio, and I want to make this beautiful, what do you think? What advice would you give me?
Well, first, I'm going to have you fill out a very detailed survey. So we have a survey we send out to every client, and it's 8 sections. It will take you anywhere from, we filled it out in our office in about 7 to 9 minutes, but we know what it looks like. So if you don't know what it looks like, we're saying 12 to 15 minutes is what it takes to fill it out. It's very detailed. Like if you don't fill it out, we know you don't want to work with us. So, and it's okay. If you don't want to fill it out, great. You're not working with us, and we know we can just keep moving on. But I want the homeowner to look at it with just another eye. Another eye. Don't look at it as, look, hey, I just want to throw a deck in the backyard because I want to sit outside. I want them to look at it as, some environment. Like, what is it going to look like? How is it going to add value to my life and to the space? Who am I? How often am I going to be out there? Am I going to grill out with my friends or family? Do I want to sit out and read a book? So maybe I need a water feature. Is this something where I'm going to hang out in the evening? So I need some proper lighting. Oh, do I need some shade? Hey, we have pergolas down that open and close. We even have heated pavement now where we can heat the walls and all kind of other stuff. So I want someone to look at it differently and then take a look at what style is their home. If they have a very modern home, then we need to have a very modern look outside, and it should seamlessly flow out. Like when you walk out of that back door, it should look like you just went out the back.
That's so cool. I would love to see, and I'll have to go back and visit your website, kind of your projects and where they begin from the inception until completion and see how it's evolved from beginning to end. I bet you have some really cool stories to tell.
That's how we market on our website. So if you get to our projects page, we tell stories about the project. So we'll type up a story and I talk about what happened when we met the client, some of the challenges and what we've gone through to get to the phase. And then what it looks like at the end is how we do our stories on our website. Then I have photos from start to finish too.
Yeah. And that's really important. I mean, do you get repeat clients? Because this kind of, is there repeat clients, or is there a good referral program that you have? Like, how do you maintain those client relationships, when it's kind of a one and done situation? So what does that look like for you?
It's tough. We're still trying to figure that out. So we've had a few repeat clients, and we had one where a lady actually bought a home and we did the backyard. The next year we did the front yard. Then she actually bought a new house and we did the renovation on the new house. But that's very rare because like I said, it's not the cheapest job, but
Right.
that's rare. Also, referrals are tough too because they might have a friend who everybody that they know comes to their house and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. But then when the friend calls up and they may not be ready, at that moment. So even that's tough. Even referrals are tough because everybody's not ready. We do have a financing program that will pretty much pay for most of what it is. But even somebody has to get their head ready on what it costs. It's the high end car. They have to be ready.
Yeah, it's an investment. You have to be able and be willing to commit and just make sure that you're going to see an overall return on your investment, right? So if it's your forever home, you should make that backyard your forever backyard, right? Like that would be my goal.
Yeah, they just have to be ready.
They do. And I think it's like you said, you probably have to walk them through that mindset to really get them to fully understand and embrace what it is that they're about to bite off. So that can be a hard story. And I'm sure that that's probably a harder sell. And the sales pipeline, I'm sure, is probably longer because it's such a big investment. It's like building your home, right? Like that's the biggest investment you're ever going to make. So when you invest in your outdoor living space, you're adding to that. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
And what makes it so tough is that if they, like say, if they pick up the phone call and they called like 5 companies, 4 companies are probably going to come out and offer them a very cheap solution. And so that's what makes it really tough is that 4 companies will come out. Yeah. And I hear this a lot. Matter of fact, I hear this from almost every client is that, yeah, the company just came out. They really didn't have any ideas. They basically just said, you let us know what you want and we'll do it for you. And I always say that I ignore everything you tell me and I do what I want. You mean, so that's what it's a joke. It's a joke, but I tell people I ignore everything you tell me and I do it.
That's funny. I know that you don't do that, but I think that's really funny. And sometimes they don't understand, I'm sure. Like if you were to come to me, I wouldn't understand. I wouldn't, because I don't know, I'm not an expert, right? I think I know how I want to feel, but I don't know how to make that look. So that's where I would have to entrust you to be able to do that. Yeah, you have to make my visions and what I'm hoping to achieve come to life. So I'm sure that that's what you're a master at.
And it's tough. I'm not for any means. I'm not going to say it's easy. It is tough. Sometimes I wake up in the morning like, why God, why am I doing this? Like maybe I should just go to sell drugs or something. It'd be so much easier. At least they're begging you to sell it to them. I mean, this I'm begging them to buy.
So, if you could give one piece of advice to fellow designers about growing their brand and their business, because you've done this really well, what would it be? What would you tell them?
If I was to give advice to a fellow designer, I would tell them to pick up the book called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. I'm probably going to say her name wrong, but Ayn Rand or something like that. I would pick up that book and I would read it. It's long as hell. It's probably going to take you a year. But what happens is you incorporate a style that's unique to you. And no matter what, you stick to that. You stick to it. And there might be some times when you're eating dirt. You mean, but if you stand behind your style one day, even if the world doesn't know it or doesn't see it, at least you will. I mean, I guess that's the best. I guess that's my best advice. You know what I mean? Somebody else could say, hey, Duane, because I'm starting to get to this age in business where it's almost like I just need to own a business where I just turn and burn and I'm making money while I'm sleeping. So I'm actually looking at that style of process on a different style business. And then this one is just my baby because this one comes with a lot of pain. This is that, you listen to rap music?
My son does.
You ever heard this song by Jay-Z and was it Justin Timberlake? It's the Holy Grail.
Of course.
That is what it's like. That is what it's like owning this business. Matter of fact, so when we get off this podcast, you can listen to it again and you'll see what I'm talking about. That's what's like. It loves you so much, but it also bites you too. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you love it so much, and it will bite you whenever it wants to bite you. And both sides are bitter. Both sides is the greatest love of mankind, and then the low is the lowest lows of mankind, and it just gives it to you. It gives it to you at the same intensity. So that's what it's like owning this business.
That's intense, but in reality, that's what being an entrepreneur is. That's what it's about. So I have to respect that in every way, shape, or form. And you're right. I'm going to go listen to that as soon as I get off. I'm going to make that the intro and outro song for this podcast before I get it published. Duane, it has been amazing chatting with you. You are VizX Design, and what's your website?
www.vizxdesign.com.
But it has been awesome talking to you, and I wish you much success in your business.
Same to you. I wish you a lot of success with what you're doing here. I'm pretty excited and seeing what you're doing.